So we're going to add a link to the show notes. I just pinged it over to Mustafa. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll share through some of the portfolios. But today we're going to just kind of talk through some of the top UX portfolios that we've seen. There's this awesome article from this website called casestudy.club. And they basically just did a roundup of like awesome UX designers and the websites they designed. So we're going to kind of pick and choose. Some jumped out more than other. But the first one I wanted to talk about was this guy, Jonathan Patterson. So we'll give a shout out to the actual designers because it is their sites. So Jonathan has worked at Postmates, Ford, and Sony. He's a Detroit-based designer with an unusual portfolio. His personality shines through with humor and sarcasm, both visually and written. So this is like why I wanted to focus on this one to start. I think like the X factor, how to stand out. And the way that I think about this is like the shareability. If I was looking at this, how likely would I be to share it with a friend or to a coworker to say like, look how cool this portfolio is. So let's take a look at this one. I want to get Mustafa's expertise to start because he is in the process of doing this himself, and he's been interested in looking at other portfolios for inspiration.
Yeah, basically stealing ideas, right?
Inspired by ideas. You're getting inspired by these ideas.
Oh, is that what we're calling it? Okay. Disclaimer.
Yeah,
so let's see.
Let me jump over to. Let me switch sharing so I can actually share the exact page. But yeah, why don't you check it out and give us a voiceover of what you think so far?
Okay, so this is Jonathan Patterson, the Detroit designer. Yeah, I mean, the first thing you land on, like typically like websites, is like navigation in a row. But what he's done is he's divided the page up into 6 quadrants, and each one is like a bright color and like a visual thing. So about, I'm not sure what is that? Is that like a drink opener? Like there's basically the title of the section, a strap line for it, and then like an image on each one. Portfolio.
Oh, shattering the status quo. I think it's actually like a grenade.
Is that? Oh, okay. It look like, from that it looks like, like a water bottle. It looks like a both.
Yeah, it does look like a trendy water bottle.
This is how you know that we've like visited San Francisco way too much. Portfolio looks like an award or something. Contact is like fold a piece of paper. Sup. I don't know what that is. It's just drinks. And clients is a world. So let's go into portfolio. So clients and portfolios is a thing. I suppose it's like who he's worked with and examples of the work. But I suppose that's interesting. Let's go into portfolio, and that is a really big. Okay, so it's very red. Okay, so now we've gone into this section. Is pretty standard navigation, top left or top. I mean, this is top right, but like logo top left.
Oh yeah. So that's cool, though. He used the landing page to kind of stand out, and then once you navigate, it kind of goes back to a more standard web view with the menu in the upper right.
The thing which is, I mean, it's very intro. Like one thing I would say is it might be worth having like a, because it's like the row of the different case studies that he has. It might be worth having like a image of each project just to break up the page a little, because it's very red, and that's quite strong. So just going to the first one. Okay, so the first case study, he's gone back to white, which I think is actually much better visually because it allows the work to actually shine. I suppose that's another reason why you didn't use images, is because the background of the portfolio section is very red and certain colors just don't look well together. So I imagine
I have to say the polish is like unreal too. It just feels like this is a very well thought out, like every case study feels like its own mini website.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can tell that he's put a lot of care into to this. And it's very big and visual. The question is like, how much of this stuff do people actually go through in detail? Like, he's got a lot of detail of like, wireframing and telling the whole story. Like one thing, let's see, does he actually do this? So the first project, a platform that empowers out-of-home advertisers with data like never before. I'm curious about the grammar there. That's very confusing, having a comma in the title. I've been using Grammarly way too much. It's probably fine. Faculty is a SaaS platform that enables business. Okay, right. So this is one of those projects which could be very boring, but he's actually presenting very visually. So that's really nice. Like a lot of imagery.
It looks like it's some sort of dashboard design. So
and
it's not like, it looks like it's B2B, like business to business
probably.
versus business to like consumer to business or B2C.
So at the end, it's got like hindsight. Firstly, whose name has been changed whose name has been changed as to not affect the SEO ranking as they roll out. I'm finding the grammar really hard to read. I don't know if this is me. I'm going to open up this is really harsh what I'm going to do now, but I'm opening up Grammarly just because I'm terribly dyslexic, so sometimes the problem is most likely to be me. That's one thing that designers really have to be careful. That's why I couldn't advise Grammarly more than enough, because your visuals could look fantastic, but if the word, this is completely, there is problems in this. All right, sorry about that, Jonathan. But I think the visuals are really good. One thing that I would say about portfolio is what you really need is a too long don't read at the beginning. Mm-hmm. This was the problem. This is what we did, and this was the end result. And then if you want to know the how, you read the case study. So it allows people to say, okay, this visual looks really great, but how did you move the needle? And I think that's a good habit. Big tech companies, they educate you. This is how that you demonstrate impact. And it's hard for designers to do that. But when you start thinking in those terms, it makes you focus that whatever you work on, you think, okay, at the end of this, I need to explain this in a case study or whatever. I need to make sure that what the end result and the impact is really important. But I think visually is quite cool. So you're going to say something, and I interrupted you.
No, I kind of agree. I think visually it's awesome. One thing that kind of jumped out at me is I agree. It's a little bit like the first paragraph is talking about the company that he worked for rather than the work he did. You know what I mean? Like there's people, as we know, are going to just kind of skim and look for some key bullets. They might pick one that they go deep in. They want to see the process end to end. So things I like. I think visually it's very compelling. I think the breakdown of like who the audience was, the justification, and then he has a paragraph on like the actual impact that he made is huge. The one thing I think is missing is just like some data points, right? So people want to be able to prove that your data or your design helped the business do X, helped customers do Y, it added some sort of value to the overarching thing. So I think he has something, but I didn't see any specific data points. Let me see who was for, how I helped. It's really well done in terms of process, details, and due diligence.
The second project I'm looking at.
The story is compelling, and I like how if you go towards the bottom, it just kind of shows like the design iterations. So they're not like super high fidelity mocks. They're just kind of like he kind of almost takes out the color and focuses on like the process, which is really interesting.
The second project that he has on his portfolio, that's very visual, and that's why I kind of feel like those things like his design stickers, and I think they're so cute and really beautifully made that could be like a huge selling point, and that would make people like want to click into.
Yeah. So this one screams like visual designer, right? Visual illustrator. The other one was more of like UX. But if you look at how he's branding himself, freelance product designer. Product designers by trade they're kind of like unicorns. They tend to do it all. Or for lack of a better word, I think of product designers again, like titles are kind of BS in a lot of cases, but they're kind of like full stack designers. They can get into everything from research to do something that's super highly visual. But these stickers are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would lean with that as a visual, because all designers really appreciate visual stuff. And if you're going for a job, or even anybody who's not even familiar with like the UX process, that's an amazing thing. The only challenge there is people start seeing you as a visual designer, not like a full stack UX designer, or like with the product. But yeah, no, I think as some of the other projects, you can see that it's very okay. So they're still working on the other projects. I think it's really, really well. Is that tabbed? Yeah, so it's got subsections within things that you. Oh, because I didn't notice that initially. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So if you go into a portfolio section, he's got like a sub navigation for each one of the projects, so you can jump into them without going back to the portfolio. That felt like it was part of the project rather than part of the site navigation. So that's why I'd say perhaps tie it to the navigation. So maybe, you know, but otherwise, I think, you know, I mean, my website right now is terrible, so I can't really say much.
Yeah, that's kind of I think it's that. I mean, we're already starting at a very high bar, right? This article is about the 21 best of 2021, so we know that this is going to be the highest bar possible. To me, this site just screams a ton of work. The other small little thing I liked, you see how they have like the visual like little cropping points around the
at the top of the page.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.